So one of the most important things that I've learned to do that has developed my capacity to create what I would love to create in my life is I've learned to lie. I've learned to lie, and that might sound like a weird thing that you have to learn to do, but for me, lying is probably one of the hardest things for me to do. I was raised in a household where telling the truth was of the utmost importance. My dad was a cop, and it was like being honest and telling the truth was more important than anything. If I did something quote unquote wrong or bad, it was more important that I didn't lie about it. I'd get in more trouble for lying than I would for the thing itself. And so I learned that the truth and telling the truth and being honest was of the utmost importance. And a lot of my work really and what I do in my coaching around people creating authenticity has emerged out of my own pursuit of authenticity, because it took that value of honesty and truth and applied it inward, being honest with myself, being honest outwardly. That's just been my orientation because of my values throughout my life. And it's a powerful thing, and it's something that I still value, honesty. And I also found its limitation in the realm of creating and creation. So I'll explain what that limitation is, and then maybe you'll see what I mean when I say learning to lie has been an important growth for me in my ability to create. So a lot of times in the work that I'm doing, I'm helping people to use their speaking to create a way of thinking and seeing that generates an experience inside them, and that therefore from which comes certain actions and behaviors that generate actual external results, right? So think and speak this way, feel and see that way, act and behave in this way, and then this stuff will actually happen and occur in your world. And if I want to speak something like an idea that's contrary to what I have evidence for, that can start to feel like a lie. For example, I make $1 million a year. Okay, my revenue's getting closer to that, but it's not there yet. So if I speak that, I can't say I make $1 million a year. I'm lying. And if I have that rule in me where I can't speak something as if it is, when the evidence in the physical world is that it's not, then I'm actually limiting myself to create beyond what I can represent through current reality. If I can't speak something as if it actually is, when there isn't evidence for it, then I'm limiting myself to only speak what can be evidenced, which means I'm limiting my power to create to what I can find evidence for already. And so I could attenuate for that and say, I'm working towards, or I'm creating a revenue of $1 million a year, or I'm on my way to, or I'm committed to creating $1 million a year in revenue. Yes, I could say that, but the thing is, when you speak something as if it is now, when you speak something in the present tense, in the here and now, as already existing, the energy and the power that it creates in your body and your perception is greater than when you put it in the future. That's something you're moving towards. So we don't want to leave any energy in the work of creating on the table. We don't want to leave any certainty and commitment and connection to an idea on the table by changing the grammar to have it projected into the future so that we can be honest, right? So we want to actually be able to have the capacity to lie and speak with a full sense of certainty and truth. I earn $1 million a year, for example, or I produce $1 million in revenue a year, while at the same time that not being the case. Now, how do you do that when you have a high value for honesty? How do you look somebody else in the eyes and say, I earn $1 million a year, and lie to them while you still value honesty? So this is where I couldn't before. I couldn't. I had this was very black and white for me, and that was the way I did honesty. But as I've learned to navigate this, I've learned that there's a way of being with language and speaking where the honesty is not the words. And so let's just stay with this example for a second. When I'm with somebody, I may say to them, I earn $1 million a year. And they say, wow, really you do? Yep, that's what I'm creating. The last 12 months I did $500,000, and I'm doing this now, and I'm doing that now, and the money is growing. And so I'm both speaking the idea, I earn $1 million a year, and then adding other parts of the conversation around it to then point out that there's a parallel reality called planet Earth, the physical form of the world, where there's not necessarily $1 million that has come into my bank account this past 12 months, but it's being created. And so I can do both. I can speak both the story of the tangible, physical, evidenceable, evidenceable world, and I can speak the world that I'm creating in the future as if it already occurs. So, in the sense, I'm giving away the lie, while at the same time honoring the lie, because speaking something contrary to the appearance, contrary to what is, as if it already is where the most energy is. And so it's learning to play with language and to tell a larger story, that the story of the truth that I'm creating sits inside of. So there's the truth that I'm creating, the truth of my creation, my vision, my potential, my capacity, as if it's realized already, spoken, wrapped inside of a container of a bigger conversation, in which there's an acknowledgement that there's a distinction between this imagined world that I'm creating and living in right now, and the actual world that I'm also grounded on. And so you don't have to do this. That's my way of accessing the capacity to create a reality in the present moment as if it already exists before it does, while at the same time still bringing with me this value for being honest with people and being honest with the reality around me. And so when I'm by myself, speaking it to myself, I'm not having that secondary conversation with myself, like the kind of caveat conversation, I guess you could say, because I don't even need to do that because there's nobody else, there's not an integrity gap. I can hold that secondary conversation of the tangible physical world that's contrary to what I'm speaking. I can hold that in the back of my mind. I call this 99% believing. I'm 99% living in a reality where I already earn that revenue, and there's a 1% back here keeping me connected to the ground, knowing that it's not there yet. And that's actually important, not just as a way of staying honest, but as a way of maintaining structural tension between what physically and actually is and what I'm creating. If I went 100% in and didn't remember that hasn't come into my account yet, then I might not be waking up in the morning and having the urgency or the desire to take action to close the gap between the envisioned, spoken as if now world and the actual physical, evidenceable world, right? So there's the world of appearance, of form, the ontology that's here, that we can measure with a yardstick or a ruler or whatever, or weights or whatever. It's here, it's physical, bop bop, right? It's the world. There's that, and then there's the world that we experience and imagine. We want to experience and imagine a world that's greater than the physical world, and the physical world will grow to meet it. But what people normally do is they speak a world that matches the physical world, and then nothing changes. We just sit in this equilibrium. But if you speak a reality that's greater than the physical form of the world that is, if your phenomenology is greater than your ontology, if your epistemology, your experience is greater than the ontological as is out there in the world, and you stay with that and you hold the tension by 99% believing, by speaking a created truth within the container of a evidenceable truth, then that tension you generate and the tension you sit with will actually bring the world of form to meet it. It will drive you into action that produces results that actually bring the world to meet that. If I wake up every day believing and feeling that I earn $1 million a year in revenue, and then I look and that's not coming to my account, I just move. I move because that difference moves me into action, into creation. Or if I have a hang-up about that and I don't know how to speak something contrary to appearance in a way that doesn't have me feel out of integrity, then I collapse my speaking and I get honest by shrinking and diminishing my speaking down to match the environment. And then there's no compulsion for action and there's no creation, and everything stays as is in equilibrium, which actually is decay and dying and death. So if you're not growing, you're shrinking. So for me, really living is learning to speak greater than the circumstance, which means for me personally, it's finding my way through honesty not being black and white anymore, but there being a way to dance with it, to maintain integrity, but to find the nuance and the subtlety with speaking something as if it already is, while at the same time, in the back of my mind, knowing that it's being created. So I feel the energy as it is, I feel the difference, and it moves me into action. And at the same time, for me, creating that larger container of a conversation that sometimes is necessary to maintain external integrity with an understanding that there's a world that I live in, but I also know that there's a physical, grounded world that's distinct from that. But I'm maintaining my focus right now, and I think people can get that. And I think when you speak something as if it is, and you give somebody the benefit of the doubt that they can understand there's a difference between the reality you're choosing to create for yourself and the one that you evidence is real. It's like, dude, I'm invincible, and I'm not walking out in traffic, right? Two separate realities. There's the world that we create in our mind, and there's the physical world, and they need to dance together. If your physical world and your world in your mind is always matching, then nothing changes. I invite you to practice what I'm calling heretical creation. Speak contrary to appearance and to evidence reality, and find a way to speak with integrity at the same time. It's not black and white. Today is the perfect day for you to heretically create who you are. You are loved and you are powerful, and I am loving you simply for your being here. I'll talk to you soon.